for my reflection on my targeted video number 2, my 20-minute small group lesson, um, some things that I found challenging were to stick to what I had written in my lesson plan in the time frame of 20 minutes. And so I really felt the time pressure because I had pulled the kids aside out of class during reading workshop time. And so I was trying to get through the lesson so the students wouldn't miss the rest of class. And I really felt that time crunch in this video. And I think that was something good for me to experience because in the past, especially in May when we were taking classes online and writing sample lesson plans, I think it was kind of hard for me to connect time with the activities and the instruction that I was planning to give. And this video, it kind of taught me like, okay, well, 5 minutes goes like this, and 10 minutes and 15 minutes go by really fast, especially when you're reading a selected text, because a lot of my time was devoted to reading aloud with kids versus going over what the content and what we were actually trying to determine and figure out. And so that's something that is a learning curve for sure. And I feel like as a new teacher, that's one of the biggest issues, and something that I was talking to my mentor teacher about a lot. Like, time management in the classroom and managing the clock can be the hardest part of teaching. It's not actually teaching itself. It's managing the time and making sure that all classes get the same amount of lecture to discussion time as well. And so that's something that I really learned, and I'm glad that I learned it in this video. Something that I learned just from the curriculum and the lesson plan that I designed, I think that I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. And I say that because in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm going to plan these great lessons and I'm going to plan this great activity. It's a cute little scavenger hunt. They're going to love it. And I think I spent some of the video, as you can probably see, like trying to hype them up and trying to relate the video and trying to get them engaged. And so I think next time if I taught this lesson, I would literally just print out the scavenger hunt with captions and text boxes, because they knew what the headings were. They knew what the titles were. They didn't need to write those down, and it was kind of like, I could sense from the students that it was kind of like, okay, we know this. Why is she making us do this? Like, I know what a heading is. This is easy. And the goal of the lesson was really to distinguish captions and text boxes, which they did amazingly well through discussion and on the paper. But I wish that I just honed in on those two specific categories. So I think if I made that worksheet a little less, and it was confusing with the 2 pages, they would have been more engaged in the discussion. Another thing that I think I would edit the next time that I teach this would be to not do the scavenger hunt and read the article for the first time at the same time. I kind of sensed that they had a really hard time having 2 packets in front of them. As you can see in the video, they had both the packets side by side. And my goal was kind of, because it was 20 minutes and we needed to get through the article and we needed to find text features. And I think it was hard for them to go back and forth and say like, okay, here's the article, I need to write this down. Because they don't normally do that in class. They normally read it, discuss, they go back and forth between their discussions with their partners and the discussion with the teachers. And so instinctively, when I saw that they were kind of hesitant to write down, I just turned it into more of a discussion. Okay, well, talk to me about the caption, talk to me about the text box. And I kind of did my my informal summative assessment through discussion and through just talking to them, engaging their knowledge about captions and text boxes from merely calling on them. And so that's something that I changed. I think I wrote in my, I have my lesson plan right here. I think I wrote that I was going to have I was going to read the article and then walk around, and then they were going to do the scavenger hunt after we had read it. But during the middle of the lesson, I realized like we're 15 minutes in and we're not on the third page yet. So I kind of just tweaked that a little bit and did it as we went. Also in the opening, I had them kind of think, pair, share, but the other student that I had chosen for this assignment was absent today, so there was only 3, and I thought that would have been awkward for all 3 of them to do a think, pair, share when they could just call it out to me because it was such a small group. So that's something that I think when I was writing the lesson plan, I was envisioning something. And then when I actually did the lesson, I realized, okay, this might not work as well as I thought in my mind. And that's something that I really appreciated and valued in this video and this lesson, because that's something I struggled with a lot in the summer. Is I could come up with all of these great teaching strategies like think, pair, share, think, pair, write, all of these super great teaching strategies, but I had a hard time connecting to the reality of teaching it and the reality of being in the classroom and having to teach that and the time that it takes also to have students think, pair, share. So I think that was a really good lesson for me, and it's something that I have been trying to figure out in the past couple weeks as I have been in my practicum and observing and teaching some. I also didn't have time for them to write a difference or similarity at the end for an exit slip. I just simply said, what did you discover? And I made it the end kind of like, okay, well, what did you discover? And I kind of asked them questions about the captions and text boxes to see like if there's any confusion or if there's anything that they didn't realize. Something that I picked up on was one student had said, oh, a text box says, did you know? Because when we did the lesson, that's what the text box said. So I think it was good for her to see like, oh, this one said, who is Aesop? So it's kind of like, it's kind of different in the language, but it's the same thing. And they picked up on that fairly quickly. So I was really proud of them, and they were really engaged. And I know that as a student, it might have been hard for them to be pulled out of class and to do that exercise. So I try to explain like this is for my teaching, this isn't going to be graded. It's just for fun, and we're just going over text features, and that's something that I thought that went well during the lesson. Something that also went well during the lesson is it gave me time to kind of work with these students one-on-one. Some of these students I had never worked with one-on-one in this class, and I think it kind of gave us a connection and a kind of like, let's check in and see how you're doing with this concept that we're working with in class. And it was also good for me to report to my mentor teacher, like these students showed signs of struggling and signs of, not that they're low readers, but they showed signs of not comprehending the lesson. And now after my lesson, it's confirmed that, okay, they understand, they know what's going on, they can tell the difference between a caption and text box, and now we can move on. And that's something that I think is valuable for both me and my mentor teacher as we're going through this unit in class. So that's my analysis, and I had such a fun time with this lesson. It makes me really excited for the next lesson that I get to teach in video and send to you guys. So thank you.